Welcome to the Stretch2Go Podcast. My name is Ian Ray, your host. And today I have Chris Galea. He is the co-founder of Lex Barefoot Shoes, barefoot shoes for kids. And they are from Gold Coast, Australia. And I wanted Chris on behalf of Lex Barefoot to be on the podcast to kind of go over their shoe, his story, and how they got into barefoot shoes. So Chris, welcome to the Stretch2Go Podcast.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for organizing and being flexible with the times of making this work. With our what did we work out yesterday? We had 12 hours between us.
Yeah, it is. So your morning, my night.
Yes. Yeah, it's perfect. So thank you.
So I like to start off with the podcast as far as what made you and Jolene come up with the name Lex Barefoot Shoe.
The name. That's a good one. That took some work and some time, and we had many different acronyms and names that we played with our own initials and our two boys' names. And AliX was something that was written on a piece of paper. It kind of stuck. We wanted something that was a shorter name, something catchy, and also a representation of us and who we are. And Lex ended up becoming short for Little Explorers, which I say is what we are all about as parents and adults and as people, realistically. And that's our life. Like it's one big exploration. So that's Lex is what stuck for us, and it ticked the boxes of what we wanted for a name and a business and who we are.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it in your guys' insoles here. It says, "Are you ready for your next adventure?" I love that. I think that kind of coincides with what you're saying. Such a cool thing, man.
Yeah, thank you, and that's a part of the brand and the design is for it to be a little bit fun and quirky, but also have that constant reminder that life is an adventure and to be ready. And a part of that is having the shoes for it to be ready with, and then also the reminder to get outdoors and explore and play.
Yeah. And I know you guys were kind of chatting beforehand, but you guys are exploring Australia, knowing that you're from Melbourne and went to Gold Coast all around, and you guys are now on the West Coast in Perth. And so how did that happen? Were you guys always that adventurous type of people who are like, let's just go and travel. Let's just find a place for our families to just enjoy life?
And yes, I say we are. It's kind of funny because when you talk about it, it's like, nah, I'm not that person. But when I look back at it, it's like, yeah, actually we are, because our travels, like Joel's and I, we originally met in Melbourne, and opportunity come up throughout like Pilates industry to open up a studio in Sydney, and Joel's and I jumped at that opportunity to move from Melbourne to Sydney to set up business there. And we spent 8 years in Sydney setting up businesses and a yoga studio, and Lex was started there, or the idea of it came up throughout like COVID and stuff. And then throughout that time, opportunity came to move over to the Gold Coast where Joel's family and cousins and family were. So we moved there, and after a year or so there, it was like, well, it'd be pretty cool and awesome to go and explore Australia. So it then came to, all right, let's set up, let's get a caravan and let's travel Australia. We left the Gold Coast last Easter, so it's probably been 15, 16 months that we've been away from the Gold Coast on the road traveling.
Okay. So your guys' background both in Pilates or health and fitness?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as for you guys, I guess, what made you come up with barefoot shoes? How did barefoot shoes come into your life as far as, to creating a shoe like this for kids, especially? And what was the idea?
This is so good. So good. It started with me like 10, no, probably more. I'm older than that now. Let's just go with 10 years ago. Let's go with that 10 years ago. So in Sydney, running a Pilates studio, and I used to do a bit of running. And throughout my running journey, I started off not being able to run because my body wasn't working the way it was meant to. And throughout doing some Pilates, it helped open and stretch everything out. So from a casual 3K run to some fun 5K runs, I got to 10 and then worked my way up to half marathons. Throughout that journey, the body talks to you and it tells you all the things that are not working in your body. So I learned that, and throughout that process I ended up with a lot of pain in the balls of my feet, and I ended up at a local podiatrist, and he scanned my feet, made me some orthotics, and I think it was about $700 later. I had a pair of orthotics for 6 to 12 months, and he gave me a little tap on the shoulder and said, "I'll see you in 12 months' time." And I kind of left there going, "All right, cool, no problems." And then it's like a part of me was like, "This just seems odd." I'm like, I'm still pretty young, I'm in my early 30s, and I've just spent $700 on these orthotics that instantly removed the pain that I was receiving in my feet. I had a marathon I was about to run. I changed it from a marathon to a half. The orthotics in my shoes made a difference. I got the run done, and it just, something about it just never sat right in me. I'm like, so for the rest of my life, I'm going to be wearing orthotics in these shoes. And with that, I don't know, one late night on the laptop playing, I found something about barefoot shoes. I don't remember what it was or who the article was, but I found something about it, and then that was it. I went down that rabbit hole of barefoot shoes, and I kind of feel I just took any information I could. And back then, there weren't a lot of brands around there. Like, one of the main ones I started with was Lems. So I got myself into a pair of Lems and started wearing those. And the difference it made in my feet and my first few runs in them was insane, how much more challenging it was, and the different sensations and feelings I was receiving throughout the front of the feet and the calves and the Achilles. It was crazy. So my standard 6-7K run loop that I used to do in Sydney, it killed me by the time I got back home. So I'm like, all right, there's got to be something in this. I'm not strong enough for this. I got to strengthen my feet. And then there was Foot Collective. They I don't know exactly when I found them compared to when this started, but I remember finding them online and just reading all their information. And also there was a guy out in like Canberra way or Wollongong way, and he did some work with barefoot stuff, and he worked and ran workshops with CrossFit shops, and there was a local workshop he was doing in Sydney, so I went and attended that, and I was just trying to find as much information as I could about barefoot shoes. So that's kind of how it started, and then from there it was like, well, I did still wear my traditional shoes a little bit because it took a bit to get completely into a barefoot shoe. But that was the initial starting point for me, was, sore and painful, going into the orthotics and then going, well, this doesn't make sense for me as a 32-year-old man. I can't do this the rest of my life. Found the barefoot guys, found some shoes, like I said, the Lems, and then I got into the Vivos and just worked my way through that, educated myself. I did, workshops with Nick and the guys from the Foot Collective. And it's just been like grabbing information from pretty much everyone. Even I mentioned to you, I know we didn't record prior to this starting, but there's a myofascial guy in Balmain that I worked with, Neville, and the way he helped me with my feet was incredible. So, and then from there, it was at that time, then we had kids, and then trying to find kids shoes that were cost effective and affordable, considering about every 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, I needed to buy them new shoes. Made it really tough. And to add to that, it was like, around COVID time, our Pilates studios shut down. And I remember my wife, Jolene, coming and us catching up in the morning because we were camping out with my other son at the studio. And she had this idea of, why don't we just make our own barefoot shoes? And then we'll avoid all the hassles of sizes and being available and colors and stuff. And from that conversation came Lex.
So what year was this that Lex was born?
Oh, it would have been COVID, so probably 201, I reckon. 21? Yep, I reckon it was 2021. Definitely in COVID, the first round.
Yeah, that's crazy. So barefoot shoes for kids, especially, they're barefoot shoes for adults. But yeah, you guys tell me with your research that you've done, and just scouring the internet and everywhere else, is there a market for kids barefoot shoes? I mean, I know there's splays. There are probably some that are like Wittens that my kids use. But you tell me, like, are there a lot of kids barefoot shoes?
I say there is now, and it's incredible, and it's it's kind of like another one prior. How much the barefoot industry, I say, has grown over these last 10 years is exponential, and it's people like yourself that are getting the word out there. It's so many new barefoot shoe businesses that are becoming more available. So it has expanded and grown a lot. So yes, there is, but I'd say for us back in 2021, and then I say we probably spent a couple of years prior to that trying to find shoes for our kids, or at least our oldest boy, which is Preston. It was really difficult to find him shoes that would be available in his size. We'd like the look and shape of them that we wanted him to wear, and just them then being available or they're sold out. So it was like, and then the cost of them, they were also quite expensive. So it was trying to
Hmm.
meet all those criterias and find them. So it was challenging back then to come up with shoes for them.
Yeah. I know. My kids have started out with the Wittens,
Yep.
and they love it. I think they've worn it out to the point where the sole actually there was a hole in it because they were wearing it every day. And
Yeah.
I truly believe now that I've been in doing this type of podcast and educating people about barefoot shoes. Look at my kids now, I'm thinking, yes, they have to start young because of the way that their foot is just growing, like I said, molding. You don't want that. And I looked at my daughter's foot. I'm like, oh my gosh, that splay it's disappearing. And, so I'm like, okay, I'm glad that they're in at least barefoot shoes. And knowing that you guys have this pair now, there's a lot of these products that you guys have as far as barefoot shoes. So I want you guys to tell me what are some of your favorite ones that you and Jolene have come up with, that, or even like your kids. I'm sure your kids are the ones who try it on, give you guys feedback maybe, but what's your process typically? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And the journey from going from our path, like I'm not a shoemaker, and we had the idea and wanted to create and make our own, and that was a challenge in itself. It's like, well, where do you start from making a shoe? And how long's that? We've been working on it for 4 years now, and I say we still haven't found that perfect shoe yet. But it's also like, we've made a base, we've improved since then, and we've improved and we've improved. And that's the plan. And I say that's life, like always trying to make things better and improve as we go along. So our original OG come out in 4 colors in 4 sizes, and that was our first manufacturer. And we had a middle person that we worked with to create those. And through that process and the product we ended up with, and where we are today, it's like a whole new factory that we're working with. We're working on getting the quality better, and then learning from them first ones that, the straps needed to be a little bit longer, the Velcro needs to be a little bit stronger. The sizes you have in front of you are the next size up. So we went from an original size frame of like a 20 to a 27, and the sizes you have go from 28 to 35, and they're the bigger size shoes that have the dual straps on them. So that was kind of our second kind of production to make the shoes bigger. And from there we've gone to it's the Bolt shoe, which comes in like a dusky pink, or you've got it in an onyx black, where they're more of a sneaker style shoe with an elastic lace. And that was the next kind of style. And in the background, Joel and I are working on right now is we're working on a school shoe for kids. So we're working on it to be a black shoe, and also have it in a tanned color, so it can also be worn outside of school, or even a black can, but predominantly for a school shoe. But and we're also working on a sandal, because we see the demand and the need for a sandal. And the process is design and draw, make it up, and it's incredible, because what you think is going to look good and be functional, to then when you get it made and what gets sent over to you is sometimes not a complete different shoe, but there's differences in it and differences that you didn't see. I'd say where we are today, it's nowhere near, it's a lot closer to what we expect versus where we were when we first started. So those very first shoes, I think we did about 4 rounds of samples to get it to where we are now. But to what we've done at the moment with the school shoe is it's incredible to see where it's come in that, in the 4 years of making them. And then we always get them made in our son's sizes, so
Hmm.
they're our trials. So they'll wear them and use them, and especially my youngest son, if they outstand my son Leonardo, they're a good shoe. They're built well. They're built well. And we get to learn, like if the fronts are wearing, or the sides, or the straps, or the stitching, or where the creases fold at the toe box. They definitely put them through their paces, so we get to see what we need to work on, what we need to strengthen, or get to know the shoe, I suppose.
Yeah. That's wonderful that you and Joe have got your kids involved with this, and they're seeing you both work together, on the business and with this, and they get to see you guys live this out. For you and Joe, I guess as partners, what are some of the what are your core goals or core values, I should say, of like what Lex Barefoot shoe is, and like what you guys want to present to the world of who Lex Barefoot is?
That's another great question. I say our goal in general is, I suppose I can't say it. It's one of those things without a backstory. It's like, for me, I see the difference barefoot shoes made to me, and I just want everyone to be able to experience that, because I know it changed my life. Like, that's how crazy it was, because I enjoyed running, I loved running, and I was stopped by doing that. So then going into shoes and understanding feet functionality, how it works, and that your foot is the same as your bicep. So if I strengthen my foot the same way I could train my bicep in the gym, it's going to get stronger. If I leave my arm in a sling, is what I do to my feet in a traditional pair of shoes, it's not going to get stronger. It's going to stay dormant. So learning that and knowing that, like, our goal as a business and as a working together is, I just want everyone to experience that. I want everyone to be able to buy a pair of shoes and to afford them, and to have them be cost effective, but also fun, functionality, like kind of trendy looking, and just work.
Yeah. I think that's another barrier that that you guys are doing well, is actually making it affordable, because I think most people do look at barefoot shoes like, ooh, that's a little bit pricier than what I could buy, somewhere else at the shoe store. But that's like, I think price point, definitely people are always conscious if this is something that they need, but they do have to also know that what this tool does. And you're mentioning about foot strength, because I too agree that if your foot is strong, this will only help with the process of, like I said, some of the things that you've had to overcome, those injuries with your knee. For myself, it was more my ankle. I always tend to get injured. Last night I was playing basketball, and I haven't played basketball for 2 years. It's been a minute, but I was scouring for a place to just get, basketball shoes. I was like, I think I have to go back to traditional. I wore the Currys, and I looked at my feet and my toe was blue, and like along the side of my ankles, it was sore. And I was like, yeah, my foot has not been crammed in a shoe like that for 2 hours playing basketball, because I've been switched over to barefoot shoes. So it's interesting that people like myself, who used to wear conventional shoes, and of course switched to barefoot shoes, you do feel a difference. It does take time. Like you and I, like, it took me a year to transition slowly, to barefoot shoes. I'm not sure for you how long it took, but yeah, I think there is a time and a place that, of course, you're not going to go cold turkey and just jump into barefoot shoes. You have to learn the function of what the foot does. So you tell me, how long did it take you to switch over from, to just barefoot shoes?
I say I was all in, and I kind of went cold turkey. But then it also came with its own pains and discomforts. As I said, my first few runs, going from, I don't know, I tried everything with traditional shoes, Mizuno's with the wave in them to help support me, and I tried all of them. And from there, I ended up getting a nice pair of Lems, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do my normal run in them, because although I was educating myself, I'd say for me, it was really also hard. Like 10 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of education around about them. And if there was, I didn't know where to find it. So I was looking in the wrong spots. So I did a lot of runs at the beginning just in barefoot shoes. And it did take some time. And then through my own like process, I'm like, okay, well, I've probably done too much considering how sore my body is. I'm like, all right, next run I'm going to lessen my Ks. I did that, and then sometimes throughout the day, I wouldn't just wear barefoot shoes all day. I'd have to put a pair of traditional shoes on. But I kind of went straight, like ripped the band-aid off and went all in barefoot shoes, and then worked out that I kind of look at it like my dosage was too high of barefoot shoes, so I need to peel it back a little bit. So, all right, now I had to wear traditional shoes. But then it's similar to yourself. Every now and then, I caught myself and I put a pair of, traditional shoes on, and I'd be in pain. I got to a point where I just threw them all away or gave them away and donated them because I'm clear they don't serve me. And then I bought myself some, a nice pair of going out shoes that I could wear that were barefoot, and then managed to, incorporate barefoot shoes. They're all I have now. So it was a process of doing it probably, and I'd say in general when I talk to people about it, I'm like, it is a process, and you need to do it in a process where I didn't do it that way. What I did may or may not be the right and wrong way, who knows? But it worked, and I have the outcome that I want now. I got strong feet, they're functional, and they work for me. So if someone was coming to me, I would ask, or I would recommend doing it slowly and gradually building into it, and that's something we're also working into our shoes is having a removable sole. So at the beginning, the sole in the
Ah,
shoes they vary 3 to 5 mil, more so around the 3 mil mark. But we're making all soles now removable. So for two reasons. One of them is that it will give you a little bit more space in the shoe. So as the foot grows, you'll get a little bit more wear out of them. And at the same time, if you do want to get not that full barefoot experience, but increase the barefoot experience and possibly, fluctuated in parts of the day. You may take it out to do an hour just without the sole, and then later on in the day you can slide it back in and make it like a transitional period. So that's something we're incorporating now in all of our shoes for that reason.
that's awesome. Kind of give us a little snippet of what you and Jules, when you guys are sitting down to create, especially the newer models that you guys have, the OGs, like, where do you guys get your inspiration from? Like, what do you guys talk about as far as like what you want to get out of it? I know you talk about sandals, you talk about like that, but just kind of give me like an overview, like what you guys thought process. This is something I'm not familiar with as far as creating a shoe, and you guys been doing it for 4 years, so like, how long does it take to actually get this into your hand and saying, all right, let's go out and start selling this? Because like I said, 4 rounds of samples, I'm assuming it might take like what, 6 a year? I don't know, 6 months a year, you
Yeah,
tell me.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. And I'd say as we've gone on, they get quicker, especially
Okay.
if we have like the OG now has a great base. And saying that, we're still modifying it and fixing it up. And the very first style we did, that doesn't not it doesn't exist, it does, but we've modified it for the strap to be a bit bigger, the sole, a bit flatter or less mills in it. So it's completely flat where there's always that adding on feedback that we get back from our clients that are using the product and what we learn from our sons using them. So, the Velcro to be stronger in them, the stitching to be stronger in them. It's one we're looking at right now on that shoe is like, should we put a little protection around the front of the toe to help support, around the toe box? Because we're finding we're getting some feedback lately that they are wearing from the top. If the kids, sit on their toes or they drag their feet behind them or, so and it's something that we'll look at. And then what we're looking at doing with our school shoe has that little bit of protection on it. So it's a constant thing. Well, then it's like, should we then keep that as our base shoe, change it in different colors, and eliminate the OG? But I suppose it's these constant thoughts. And to answer the question, I'd say we kind of look at what we feel is missing from the market or what we feel we need in the market as and requests we get from clients. It's like, a school shoe would be great, or a sandal would be good, or something along those lines we would go by. And then it goes down. I say this is probably more Jolene than me because she is the brains behind it and what they look like, and it's pretty much she looks after the design and the look and the feel, and then we have a guy that helps us design and look at the shoe, and then we'll add stuff to it if we look at it and we're like, I think the strap needs to be longer, or what does it look like with 2 straps or no straps, or what about a so it goes through drawing processes, and then we look at it, and then 3Ds of it, and then different colors of it, With the sandal, actually, we did a post with the sandal because we were looking at picking 4 colors. Out of this palette we got given, there was about 17 or 16 colors. It's like, how do you choose 4 colors from 16? So we actually put a post on Instagram, and it was great. Like, pick your top 4 colors and send them through. And it was so great to see and get input from our database of what everyone likes, and it was good to add community into that and get feedback from them and add that as part of who we are. And I believe when we went through the process, the ones we picked are the top ranking of what we got feedback for, because we also were aligned with that. But timeframes can vary. I say, as much as we really wanted to have it, like, we started on the sandal probably the start of this year, like looking at it and drawing it and designing it. And we have just received the sample for it now that I need to go and pick up from the post office. So it does take time. And I say we're also managing like the school shoe at the same time. So it can vary to sample stage, could be, 3 to 6 months at the moment. That's what it takes us. And then to run production and then get them shipped and sent to us is more than likely another 6 months.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
it could be, nearly a year until, if it's new. Like, if I wanted to go and make the OGs again, that would be an easier process. If I just wanted to change a color and go, we want to do another run of those, considering they have it and it's all sorted out, it would just be the material we'd have to confirm. So that would be an easier process. Yeah, in general, I'd say it would be about 12 months.
Okay. Here's another fun question. What are some misconceptions of barefoot shoes that you have to, maybe yourself or helping your clients to overcome, that, barefoot shoes are also for kids? What are some misconceptions that you also have to educate, customers or the public, because
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, people, yes. I'd say, so since we've been on the road traveling, we've put like signage on our caravan and on our car, and it is a great conversation starter with people because people don't know what they are. And initially they think barefoot shoes, it's like, why is it a barefoot shoe if it's an actual shoe? Like, where's the sense in that? Shouldn't it be nothing? It's like, well, yes, you're right. And realistically, we should be barefoot all the time. And in an ideal world, you do that. But in environments where you can't just be barefoot because there's stones or gravel or rocks or surfaces that are hard or possibly sharp or dirty, you need something to protect your feet. And for us, that's what the shoe is. It's a material that's going to protect your foot, but can still allow your foot to function. And that's kind of that's probably the biggest question I would get while we travel about the shoes. Or then, what are they? And for us, a barefoot shoe is 0 drop from heel to toe. It's wide through the toe box. It's lightweight. It flexes with your foot as you walk. So it's going to mimic that natural movement of a foot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. I'm always curious what each people I interview about how they have to help people overcome those misconceptions, because there's the internet's out there and podiatrists are out there to make money as well. And granted, they're doing, that's what they did, went to school for it, but there are functional podiatrists right there out there who are educating people about, well, like you said, orthotics. I think orthotics, not for everyone. It shouldn't be for everyone. I mean, like you were saying, it kind of reminded me like an orthotic is basically taking away the sensory receptors, is taking away the strength of the foot. It's a crutch for your foot so that once you're out there and you take it off and you get injured, you're going to have to go back to an orthotic something. I had an orthotic too, actually, now that I think about it. This was about 10 years ago or so, where I remember getting the cast of my orthotic and I was like, I got my foot in a clay mold and this is what I have to wear. And it's rigid. It's not the most flexible for me because I was playing sports at the time. And so I was like, I don't know if this is meant for me. Like, I don't think orthotics are. So yeah, I truly agree. I think the foot has to be strengthened. And for kids, they shouldn't have any issues. It's just putting them into a shoe like this, like you're saying, to protect their feet, and to help them to keep that splay so that they can continue to play, move, and so forth. So yeah, truly humbly agree, and humbly thank you guys for creating awesome shoes for kids.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I say it is a journey, and there are plenty of challenges and roadblocks. And going back to goals, I say when we stick to our goal and our intention, it does help get through the hurdles that you have along the way. And then not everyone's going to be happy with the shoe you make, and that's okay. Or it's not as flexible as another shoe, or it's not as wide as another shoe, or whatever it is. But I say for us, it is also good to stick by that vision, and our goal is to be able to provide a cost-effective shoe that is functional and make it available for everyone, for kids to be able to have access to everywhere.
So my last question I have for you is, how have you guys grown your business from the inception of Lex? What lessons have you guys learned along this journey, and continue to, of course, navigate to building this brand?
Yes, it's another big question.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. Read it to me again. Ask it again.
So like, just kind of give me quick,
Yeah.
I guess, quickly, as far as what you and Joe have come to learn about business and starting a shoe. What are some lessons along the way that you guys learned that you guys could possibly share with other people who are in the barefoot shoe industry, or small business owners like myself? What have you learned? What's worked the best, and what will you continue to do so that you can continue to move on, progress, and grow in your business?
Yeah, there's a lot in that. But I say for us, and I touched on it earlier, is there is so much noise around us. I say in everything we do in life, regardless of a small business, life in general, whatever you do, there's always plenty of noise. There's always going to be plenty of opinions. There's always going to be a lot of stuff that's thrown on you and dumped on you. So for us, I always like to go back to who we are and what's important to us and why we're doing this. And it's, as I just shared, it's to make a shoe available for kids, to give them the best opportunity in life. And for me, it's I don't want people to have the issues I've had. And now I have a shoe that can help eliminate that for kids. And then through kids, we can then educate siblings, older, mum and dad. So it's just a step in the door to help support more than just the kids. It can level its way up. And the biggest for Joel's and I'd say, is communication for us, because there's many roadblocks along this journey with factories and them not listening to you and doing things that you didn't ask for in shoes, and then the quality isn't where you want them to be, and then going back on that and getting stuff remade. And there's been many times where on a previous podcast, one of the guys asked, why do you still do it? Because it's challenging, because our original first block of shoes ended up, after I realized, had a 3 mil heel in it, which was never ever something I asked for. So it could have been a make and a break. It's well, this is too hard and we can't do it, and they shouldn't have done this and all of that. It's well, let's now scrap that and get rid of them all and start again. Or we still look at it as it's a 3 mil drop, it's not the worst thing. So there is still an opportunity to still wear them. It just needs to be shared with everyone so everyone knows, and we're not claiming to be something that we're not. But the amount of hurdles and stuff like that happens you don't ask for, if I say being strong is really important, and embracing all the challenges and still moving towards your goals is one of the biggest things.
Yeah, definitely. I can see myself from a year ago just starting my own practice here. There are a lot of days where you have to think, what's my why? What's of doing this? And you have to go back and remind yourself that the work that you're doing, it's the passion is driving you, and of course helping more people, and of course the lives that you can change. That's what continues to drive me. So yeah, man, it's definitely one of those things I think I have to constantly remind myself is, what's my why?
Agreed, 100%. 100%.
And so last question is, what's your future plans with Lex Barefoot Shoes? I know you guys are coming out with some sandals, but kind of give us a teaser. What's the future for Lex Barefoot Shoes?
Future is to keep doing what we're doing, grow. I would love for us to, we're working on more distributors around. Australia, and we're looking at the US, which would be really good because then it would also help us with shipping and stuff, which would make it a lot better priced, and expand. It'd be great to have our shoes inside shops where customers could come in and try them on and get fitted with them. So that's something, and then just to expand our range. So yes, there's school shoes and sandals coming, but there's so many different styles of uppers you can do that will suit kids and children with, just being a cool, trendy looking shoe.
Well, hey, thanks for hopping onto the podcast. I appreciate you. Like I said, it's been a pleasure just learning more about you and Joe, and of course the brand, and of course the shoes that you provide. I thank you again. I would love for you to share with the audience how people can learn more about what you guys are doing. So a website, of course, social media, if you want to share your handle, and then of course any other pertinent information that you think people can learn more about Lex Barefoot Shoes, or even to follow along with you and Joel's journey. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I thank you for yourself, Ian, and what you've done, because it's through these sources and podcasts that we do get to educate and reach more people, which is an incredible thing to do, because this may start the journey for someone else, which is awesome. And if people do have questions or thoughts or any of that, feel free to reach out. I'd say to get in contact with Lex, the best would be our website, which is lexbarefoot.com. So there's no AU at the end of that. And then on Instagram, it's Lex Barefoot. You could find us there. I'd say they're the best two sources to find us. And on our website, there is information on shoes and what you need and how to measure up and all of that stuff. And I'd say being a small business, in the bottom corner, there is always like a little chat box. It's like being small business, like that's Jolene that's answering those questions. So she's on the end of that. So it's no random person that we've educated on shoes. Like it's us that get these questions, and we'll talk things out about sizes, or if someone has a concern about their foot shape, or is it going to be wide enough for the measurement. So yeah, throw your questions inside that if you can help, or through Instagram we can get DMs, or we have our email. So yeah, I love shoes and everything it's done for my life and my family. So I would love to help and support others in their journey as well.
No, definitely. Well, thanks everyone for hopping on to the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, follow the Stretch2Go Podcast. We release new episodes every Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard. And don't forget to subscribe. And of course, follow along to Lex Barefoot Shoes. I will post my discount link so that you guys can purchase your new OG line that they came out with, and many other products there for kids' barefoot shoes. Thanks again, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.